but I want to welcome you all to our webinar today that we're talking about how to boost profitability and efficiency on your construction projects. My name is Tracy Van Dalsum, and I'm the Vice President of Client Experience here at Red Team. And I would just want to welcome you to our webinar today. I have a background in construction management. Before I came here to Red Team, I was a project manager for a commercial construction company, and that's where I met Phil Pace, who is our guest joining us today, prior to coming on and joining Red Team Go about 12 years ago. So my background is construction and construction management, and I fell into construction tech and fell in love with it, and had the pleasure of joining Red Team Go about 12 years ago. Joining us today is Phil Pace. He is our Red Team Go client that's joining us for our webinar today, and I'm so excited to have him here. He was born into a family of steel erectors and is following in their footsteps, and became a structural engineer at the beginning of his career. After practicing engineering in Clearwater, Florida, Phil shifted his focus and joined McDonald's Corporation as in a development director role, and that brought him to Nashville, Tennessee. And as a part of helping to build McDonald's around the state, he would hire general contractors, of course, to build those McDonald's. And he was like, well, how do they make money? How do general contractors make money building for McDonald's? And so that led him into seeking out work with the Conseco Group, and eventually ended up purchasing the Conseco Group in 2004 from the original founder. And thanks to Phil's leadership, the company's grown from doing projects that were $200,000 projects, and now the company does projects over $20 million projects. The Conseco Group specializes in pre-construction consulting, construction management, design build, renovations and improvements, and does projects all across the Southeast, and majority here in Tennessee. Most notably, collaborations with McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Advent Health, A+ Storage, and several other recognizable names for you as well. I've known Phil for about 15 years. The company that I worked for when I was a project manager had an opportunity to work on some of his McDonald's projects with the Conseco Group at that time. And so I've known him for about 15 years, and it's just a real pleasure for me to have him join us today. So thank you, Phil. And we look forward to hearing a little bit more about your experiences in just a minute. But why don't you say hello and tell us a little bit about what Conseco is up to these days around Nashville and around the country.
I'd love to. First of all, thanks, Tracy, and thanks for having me on this webinar, and appreciate the rest of the team and all their efforts. We do a lot of restaurant work that you mentioned. We've also are heavily invested in medical work at several imaging centers that are actually ground up going on right now. We've done surgery centers, medical office buildings, and excuse me. Lately, I've had a run of climate-controlled self-storage. And I would tell you, since we have a lot of contractors on board on this webinar, they're a dream. You can imagine there's no paint, no drywall, no casework, no finishes. Matter of fact, everyone's so much in a hurry, they just kind of want to get open. So not even too much worried about a punch list. So but I shouldn't give that secret away. The the photograph that you have up on the screen is a first of its kind Chick-fil-A. Downtown Nashville. It's not the neighborhood that you'd think Chick-fil-A would pick, but it's called, it's what they refer to their carryout business. And catering to Chick-fil-A isn't necessarily taking plates to parties. It's really Uber drivers. So this facility, it doesn't have any tables, no seats. There's no POS station. There's nothing to accommodate an individual walk into, but they have a huge set of double doors. And technology, as we know, is an amazing thing. When you place an order for Chick-fil-A in Nashville with Uber, their software routes to this restaurant. It tracks the driver. When the driver gets within 3 minutes of its destination, they start making the food and they hand you a hot bag. So that Uber driver drives in the parking lot. So that's
so
what
cool.
Yeah.
I love technology.
Don't we?
And I've gotten to use this Chick-fil-A for myself as well.
We'll be franchising the joint venture partner. We'll appreciate that.
Well, also joining us today is Cynthia Gill. She is one of our industry specialists here at Red Team, and she's going to be giving us our presentation of Red Team Go and after the conversation that Phil and I have today. So welcome, Cynthia, as well.
Hello.
Well, we're going to jump right in and talk through some ways that Phil has used Red Team Go to gain some efficiency and profitability within his company using our tool. And so we're gonna listen to Phil and just ask him some questions and hear what he has to say. So let's dive in. Phil, why don't you tell us a little bit about how your company got started using Red Team Go?
I'm pleased to tell everyone I'm a charter member of Red Team Go. I was involved with the inception, the original programming, how everything got tied together. So had a little bit of input into it, but as we know that Pat Whalen was really the man behind the curtain that started everything. But what I think the most important thing to talk about Red Team Go and what it did for me was it provided a way, a common way and common platform for all of my employees to use. It was even from the get-go, it was easy to understand and to get acquainted with. And I'm a kind of a leader that just throws someone in the middle of the lake and see if they can swim. So I'm here to tell you, with Go, just go ahead, throw them in the middle of the lake, and they can go through. And it's intuitive enough that they'll catch on within an hour or two.
Yeah. What would you say has been the most impactful way that Red Team Go has impacted your project efficiency?
It's reduced the amount of coordination staff that we need. We don't have any coordinators. So less man hours. And something we hadn't talked about that just came to mind is the project managers really get more ownership from cradle to grave on a project. I'm sure everyone out there listening to the podcast is going, yeah, we've had problems. We have, if the plans go from estimating to coordinating to assistant project manager, project management, you can't help but lose some continuity on that. But with Red Team, you don't lose it. It's right there. It's easy to pick up. Even if you lose an employee, all you have to do is jump right in and follow the same process that everyone already has learned.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the bidding processes. For those of us that hard bid projects, we know at times, and I've said this before on other podcasts that we've done, that jobs are either won or lost in the bidding process. And so how does your team manage the budget and set up project profitability at this early stage in a project?
On the inception, we were dealing with spreadsheets, multiple spreadsheets like everybody else, and setting up buyouts and targets, but it was double entry and it was cumbersome. Red Team Go has not only evolved to streamline all this, but they've actually taken those tools and embedded it into their product. So it's streamlined our process and has helped us win more bids because we know what margins we're dealing with. We're looking at we do a page turn before we do the actual bidding. Everyone is aware that if you're hard bidding, bid day's terrible. It's awful. It's something that hadn't changed in 50 years in the industry, and everyone will smile when I say, all the electrical supply houses are holding on to their bids till 1 hour before the due time, and it's just frustrating.
It's anxiety ridden, that's for sure.
But your anxiety goes way down when you have all your numbers in. You know what your margin is going to be. Again, I know I'll get some smiles that there's some jobs that you might be willing to take a little less margin. There's some jobs you're going to bid and going, yeah, I need a big margin if I'm going to take on that project. But when you do get that last minute bid, your anxiety level goes way down because you're just down to making a couple decisions, not 100.
Yeah. Well, and you just have to plug it in. You just have to put it in and run out the door.
It's great. And I tell you, I shamelessly give away all my secrets, but I really do use Red Team Go has a marketing tool. It's I like to quip that I'm the best in town at coming in second low. I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
A lot of your viewers, I'm sure, understand what I mean by that. And so if I bid 10 projects, nine out of the 10, I'm going to be second low. And if I can get in front of the client and have them look at our bidding page and all the bids that we're getting and why we were that second low, my success rate's almost 50%. So, which is pretty high.
So you open up and show them the Red Team Go platform and kind of show them how you came to the numbers that you did when you presented your number?
I do. And as you're aware, so bids come in electronically.
Right.
We've got a division 16. You can expand it, you can contract it. But say example, we're looking at concrete. And and most of our clients are developers. They're not construction savvy. They understand what concrete is, but they don't want to hear about all the pains about foundations and rebar and the rest of the mess. But what we can do with Red Team Go is actually hit a button, show them a half dozen bids that we received. And not only does it prove to them that we're doing our due diligence and we're digging deep for them, it's a really strong negotiating tool. But they're appreciative that we're getting multiple bids, and often they get to see the bid spread. While they may not understand why concrete puts together is how concrete goes together, they certainly understand money. And
Right. Well, and you can open up and show them a little bit about how you analyze the numbers. You do get a spread of numbers, but you can show them the way that you analyze the number and choose not just the lowest, but the lowest and the best. And so that could cause your number to be a little bit higher and come in second low bid overall. But once you're able to show them the reason and how you made the decision and the qualifications that you look at in order to make that decision, because it's all right here in front of you, it gives them confidence of being able to go, oh, okay, well, that makes complete sense to me.
And to that point, I talked about being second low. A real life story. I was second low by, but high by $45,000. I asked the client to come in. I said, "Can we just talk about it?" I said, "It'll take 15 minutes." I had my project management and my estimator in the room, and they had a breakdown enough. They said, "Well, your electrical numbers, $45,000 high." And my estimator said, "Of course it is." And they said, "Why?" They said, "Here's the bid. Here's the busted bid from the guy who's got the wrong electrical service." And he showed them the bid because it's in Red Team. And they were impressed. And they said, "Okay, you've done your homework." And we got the job. It was great.
Yeah, I love the success stories.
Yeah.
How do you feel that the built-in workflows, Pasker or Red Team Go, we rebranded from Pasker upon our acquisition about a year ago now. So sorry if I keep slipping up there, but Red Team Go has built-in workflows, and we see that a lot in the bid process of how we have to enter bids. We put our bids together in the bidding status, and then we walk them through some different statuses and some built-in workflows. How have you felt that these built-in workflows set your company up to increase your profitability on projects?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with the word process. Red Team Go is a process. It's not a tool. So everyone out there that's using spreadsheets or some other software program, you're typically using a tool, something and I'll give you a good example. If you have a spreadsheet set up for budgeting or scheduling, are you using Microsoft scheduling? If you lose an employee and you have someone come in as a replacement and try to pick up the pieces, those tools aren't going to, it's going to put them on the struggle bus. It's going to be a long time before they get situated and put into it. But with Red Team Go, it's a process. You have to follow the process. And that's the biggest point I can make for everyone listening. You can't deviate from it. You have to own the process. You have to get your entire team on the process. The good news, it's a really good process, and it puts everyone on the same page. It initially, even with my company, I had some pushback, but once everyone locked elbows and they realized, wow, this is making my job easier, and I don't have to double entry. I don't have to get ownership of it. I don't have to be looking for everything. I understand I can hit a button and it'll spit out a contract, a RFI, a RFP, and it's in that common format. They really like it. So I can't emphasize that enough.
Right. Well, and you just touched on the contract process that we have inside the system, and as that becomes available to us as we start to move the projects from the bidding stage, after we get an owner contract signed and we move the projects forward, we can start to issue all of our cost commitments like subcontracts and purchase orders. And we've got some built-in processes and automations that work for that. But what are some efficiencies that you've experienced, Phil, in those processes for creating RFIs and subcontracts and even change management?
So my headline is, I'm drilling pretty hard on Red Team Go as a process. You got to own it. You got to follow it. But particularly as Red Team evolves, like we're all evolving, there's flexibility built into that. And a good example are budgets. So there's a budget set up in Go that will take your contract amount. It'll tell you what your margin is going to be. It gives you a benchmark for your project managers to follow. And then as a company owner, I have the flexibility to do different things. I can either approve the budget. I could tell them, hey, you try to make another 2%, or we can go through systematically after doing a page turn saying, here's some buyouts that we think you can get, and here are targets. In fact, always love that you guys always improve to the next thing, and you have a forecasting module too that has your project managers are watching the budget. And by the way, if you're not watching the budget every day, there's something wrong. So our project management team watching the budget every day. They're using the forecast module. They're looking at the buyouts. If you want to, you guys build in a button, and if you want to condense it and simplify it, you can just make the forecasting go away visually. You can always turn it back on.
Right.
Something else that, as a business owner, has really been helpful to me is your budget's tied in with the billing, subcontractor billing, our client billing. It tracks it. It will actually tell you if you're making a mistake. Hey, you're not billing enough. Hey, you're billing too much. You got the flexibility to say, no, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But it puts in a lot of guardrails, the latest saying, but as a company owner, I get a snapshot of every project, and it condenses it all. I can tell you in real time what my account payable is, my accounts receivable are. I can tell you now that we got a WIP sheet in there, I can tell you my over under. And I don't think I can overemphasize how important that is to managing a construction company.
Right. And a lot of the automation that's built into those processes. So you're not having to spend time putting those reports together. The system is doing that for you based on the actions that you're taking within the software. So we gain a lot of efficiencies in that way. So some of the efficiencies that Phil's talking about there with the subcontractor billing is, if we have subcontractors that utilize the billing tool, once those bills are approved, they will be included in the owner bill automatically in the WIP column when we go into our AIA style owner bill. And then they're automatically pushed into the job cost statement as total cost to date. And so it keeps that real-time visibility with the automation, in that we're going to give project managers the view of the job cost statement in real time. And then we don't have to worry about, well, did I remember to add that bill to my WIP column for my owner to pay me that this month? Because we're going to automatically push that over into the bill for you so that you're not forgetting to bill your owner for your cost commitments that you've had on the project that you should be getting payment for.
Exactly. Yeah. And, and I want to add to that too. And you can build and bid with confidence, because I've been a Red Team Go user for how many years? A long time, I'm afraid to say. The numbers are always right. So, I don't have to tell you, spreadsheets are evil. And in fact, that people break formulas. They're inherited to mistakes, and Red Team doesn't make any mistakes.
Well, we take pride in that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, so have you ever had an experience where in the middle of a project, you've had employee or staff turnover right in the middle of a project? And if so, what was that process like for you in having to turn a project over to somebody new right in the middle?
It was, well, thanks for conjuring up that memory for me. It was hard. Largest 5 years ago is the best example. It was the largest project we had done to date. It's a $12 million 5-story building. I had a project manager leave. That's at the height of when everyone's getting stolen and by your competition. I was halfway through it, and I don't have to tell you the sense of urgency I had, because just because of the way it all came together, there wasn't any point to keep him around for another 2 weeks. It just, it was chaotic. And the first thing, and the project was actually close to our office. First thing I did was I actually drove to the job site to make sure that the superintendent didn't get the same offer from the same competitor. And he said, we're good. So I've returned to the office, and in that hour I was gone, a senior project manager in the office who knew what happened actually logged on to Red Team, and he was making sure that project continued on. There was a subcontractor list. He was looking at contracts. He was on the schedule. He was calling people and saying, hey, there's a change in project management on this, but we just want you to know all systems are go. We got you scheduled for tomorrow, just confirming that you're going to be in and making you aware of what's going on. It's a great success story.
Yeah, so it just goes to show that having all the documentation in one place and having the ability to come in and sit down and everything is right there, and not having to sift through somebody's computer or through a shared drive and try to find all the documentation on the process. It's all right. It's all right there. And as long as they've got the right role assigned to them, your company employees can log in and pick right up where they left off. So I love that success story.
Yeah, I do too. We made money on the job, and trust me, the senior project manager got a nice bonus on it. So
the one that jumped in.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about the subcontractor billing process, Phil. Do you have subcontractors that regularly use the sub billing process, and what impact has that had for you?
Oh, I love talking about that as well. Red Team Go will allow you to put in any subcontractor you want, any owner contractor you want. It's being a long time user. I have to tell you, I'm displayed with everyone. Thank you for your team, because we've had a lot of requests. Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we add it? And Red Team's always come up to the plate and made it happen for us. So you guys are incredibly flexible. One success story that I tell everyone, every user and every new user to do, is insist that your subcontractors bill online. In fact, put in your subcontractor that you're going to load into Red Team and put a link on it and saying, here's where you're going to go. And by signing the subcontractor, acknowledging that you won't get paid unless you bill online. Like you said, I went from $200,000 projects to 20 million. And honestly, I had I was worried about it when we first did it. I was worried about the painter that was a single person working out of a pickup truck. I was worried about the $400 million grading contractor that I was using, saying, well, we got our own system. We're not going to use yours. Out of hundreds and if not thousands of subcontractors we use every year, only one refused to use it. And I called the owner. We'd used it before Red Team, and I said, Don, I'm sorry, but if you don't sign up for our billing program, we're just going to drop you. And he said, that's fine with me. So he stopped bidding with us. And the good news is 5 or 6 years later, his son took over and called me and said, how come we're not bidding with you? I said, well, you just got to use the billing model. And he goes, I can do that. So we have 100% participation. And the real advantage of it is it reduces anxiety again. You would think, because you can only bill if you're the concrete subcontractor or whomever, you can only bill 100%. You can't bill 105%. And since you're billing online, you can't send in a paper bill saying, hey, I spent $5,000 more on concrete. Everyone understands this. They know that if there are any changes, alterations has to happen, then they have to go through the RFP process, that go through Red Team. But the accounting's clear. It creates a schedule of value for them. I actually, not only have I not gotten any complaints, but I've gotten a lot of contractors that say we really enjoy using your system.
Yeah. Well, and just to think also that you implemented this process before, like in the era of BlackBerries. Like, let's just go back to 2004. This is before iPhone.
Oh, Nextel. You remember
Right?
beep beep, and everyone being in a circle of 20 people, and you get one beep beep, and it was like the OK Corral. Everyone would reach down for their phone.
Yep. So that's pretty impressive that even in an era where technology wasn't at its height, it was just becoming the newest fad, you were able to get 100% adoption there. So that's pretty powerful. And that's, again, another way that you've been able to increase profitability with your company, because you're streamlining that process for subcontractors to all be turning in their bills the exact same way. And it streamlines it for the accounting teams as well, as they're processing the invoices. That goes much faster for them as well. We've built in some really great workflows so that that they can get in, and the project managers can review bills and approve them, and accountants can get in and view them and approve them in a very fast way, which is great.
That's another good point, because before Red Team, we had built in our contract that we had a week to turn around between receiving funds from the owner and giving to a subcontractor, because we're paid to pay. That's changed. We don't need a week anymore. We need less than an hour, because everyone's billing online. We're billing online. It's reconciled. And I use that strength. And another secret to give away is I make sure that these subcontractors get paid quickly. And in this competitive market, where it's hard even to get a bid, if I have a lot of loyal subcontractors, because they know they're going to get paid, and they don't have to call the office. They submit it through Red Team, and then we approve it, and project manager approves it. Obviously, superintendent as well. But they know exactly where we are in the process, and they know when they're going to get a check. So less phone calls. It's nice.
Okay, well, we also hear a lot as we're talking about gaining profitability on projects that the phrase on time and on budget, that's been a buzz phrase, and what everybody seems to use as setting themselves apart from the next general contractor. But do you have some methods that you use when you're working on project scheduling to help keep your projects on track and increase profitability through the scheduling module?
Yeah, the two main things I focus on are setting priorities. So every Monday morning, before we get, everyone gets enough time to get situated for the week, and then for a couple hours, and we get together and have a priority meeting in which we have benchmark schedule dates, gross margin benchmarks, and really customer satisfaction. at the end of the day, it's our job to make the client happy. And he's going to be happy if we're in budget and on time, quite frankly. Second thing we do, we started a few years ago, something called poll planning, PULL. And it's just being a technology platform. This is low tech, but it's sticky notes. Everyone can Google it. A large magic marker board, and just you have a vertical column of subcontractor trades, and you have horizontal columns of weekly dates. But it goes in a job trailer, and what happens is, and the reason it's low tech, everyone gets a different color pad of sticky notes, and we talk about critical path items. Setting HVAC units, scaffolding for masonry, whatever it might be. With all the subcontractors there, we do every week, and we let them set their own schedule. Of course, we're pointing out that we got to be done by this date, so there's a lot of conversation. Can you move that up 2 days or a week? But it really prompts everyone locking elbows. And for example, often I'll have a masonry subcontractor offer to share his scaffolding with the EFIS subcontractor. And there's a lot of give and take going back and forth. It saves all the time. So.
Yeah, well, and what I heard you say too in the midst of that of talking about the schedule is that you're pulling everyone on the team in weekly, and you're communicating, and just communicating and having that transparency and keeping everybody on the same page at the same time is what's helping you to gain some efficiency in your process there.
Yeah, just like starting a construction project, when you're using Red Team, you really need to have all your benchmarks in place before you put a shovel in the ground. So your budget, your schedule, your page turn on your drawings, all that. After you start, then it's all about communication. Mm-hmm. And that's when you're doing the RFIs. And by the way, that's a great ad that you have where we can send an RFI out to the team and they can just click on a button. They don't have to log in. Yeah. You get an applause for that. We have a theme here, not only making money and making time, but actually making construction, the job, more fun and reducing anxiety. So it's if you're using another product and you're trying to talk a dozen architects that you're dealing with and or more to log on, create a log on and do whatever, that's an uphill battle. But if you're just going to shoot an email through Red Team where they can click and go right into the system and make a quick markup, we have a favorite architect we're using right now. He returns submittals in 1 hour.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah. We've got that built into both, you just mentioned RFIs and submittals where they can just do it right through their email. And that's a change we made to the submittal process within the last year, which is, it's one of our big pain points, I feel, as contractors, getting and managing the submittals process. And just, we built in a markup tool into the system and being able to just review those, mark them up, and do it right through your email without having to put in their login information. So yeah, that's a great reminder.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about anxiety-ridden things that we have. Another one is economic downturn. We've experienced them in our past. In 2007 to 2010 economic downturn. We could be heading into another one coming up. But how do you feel like, or do you have a story that you would want to share about how the Red Team Go process had an impact on your staff during a downturn?
So the last downturn is a good example. I was at that time, we're just getting started and doing about $8 million in revenue a year. And because of my history with McDonald's, it's, I went from being the development director of McDonald's to actually working for a lot of my past employees, which was a great experience. in that, so to get through the downturn, McDonald's promised us 12 what they call major remodels. They're all between $1 million and $1.5 million. And so I put together a double crew team so we could do 2 at a time simultaneously. And well, we'll get more smiles out of the crowd because you know what happened. The whole year went by, a single project didn't start, and then Labor Day hit. And not only did they say, "Oh, here's all 12 of them, Phil. We want you and your team to do it before the end of the year," but they gave us a 13th one. They added one to it. So we rolled up our sleeves. We all got together, and for one quarter, we went from acting like an $8 million company to an $80 million company. Just if you do the math, ratio-wise. And not only did we make money on the project, but we got done on time. It wasn't easy, but
well, and you got done on time with less staff because you were in the middle of a downturn.
which much less staff. So, it, looking back, could I have made it through the downturn without Red Team? I don't think so. I really couldn't tell you, but I can tell you without Red Team, I couldn't have done that volume of projects successfully the way we did it. In fact, I think we would have fallen on our face. It would just have been too much to handle. So, yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah, great story. So back in 2004, when you introduced Red Team Go to your company, how big of an adjustment was it for your team to go from pre-existing methods to putting their faith in a software program?
They weren't happy. They were like, everyone liked their spreadsheet. Everyone had their version of their spreadsheet.
Everyone has a magic spreadsheet, of course.
Yeah. And everyone thought, well, mine's better. And they would share them, but then they would change it. And we would sit down and look at budgets, and the numbers wouldn't add up because a formula was busted, or I couldn't compare project to project. So I had a lot of pushback because we're, as contractors and engineers and designers, we take pride in what we're doing, and we're problem solvers. So inherently, yeah, we want to go create that spreadsheet. It's, we're that's how we were taught what our job would be. But it didn't take very long because, again, not only is it's the toughest hump to get over is the process, but you have a lot of flexibility, and the numbers are right. So there's enough flexibility in Red Team Go that people can still, use, create a better way of doing things. I'll give you a good example. Is you've added a proposal
right.
To the bid, and which is tip of the day number 4 or 5, because I can import any kind of proposal that I want, templates. And so I've got one for storage, got one for medical, got one for restaurants, got one for mixed use. But we just drag and drop. So when that bid day comes and we're putting in that last electrical bid, we just simply preload everything through Red Team Go, and we sent out, instead of just sending numbers out to a client, they get a bid proposal from us. Here's a history of the company. Here's our mission statement. Here's your number. Here's some VE items that we've discovered going through the process. Here's resumes. Here's a schedule. Here's a COI. Here's a bonding agent. But that helps. What it does, it makes Red Team Go makes an $8 million company look like an $80 million company.
Yeah.
And you get that flexibility. I mean, I don't care what your proposal looks like. You can just simply import it into Red Team.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that gives us a really great segue into turning it over to Cynthia. Thank you, Phil, for sharing with us a little bit about your experience and how you gained some efficiencies and definitely been able to increase your profit with using the systems that we have. But Cynthia is going to let us see a demo of Red Team Go and show us a little bit more about the software in detail, and give us a look there.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Phil, for so much useful information there about your company.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, Red Team Go is a all-in-one project management software. It's used to take your projects all the way from pre-construction through closeouts. So like Phil said, it has a lot of repeatable processes. Red Team Go is a process. So it's not just a software for construction. It was built by a general contractor and for general contractors. So we are not reinventing the wheel with the processes that we have in place. It's more like we are a GC. These are the standard processes that everyone has to go through to manage the construction project. So we just digitized those and took advantage of the technology and the automation that it has to offer. We are having a little bit of an audio issue with my video, so I'm going to go ahead and present myself. This right here, I'm just going to hit play and then pause throughout the video here. But what you're seeing on the screen is the dashboard. And as soon as you log into Red Team, this is what you see. Some of the actions you can do in here is, dive into the to-dos. To-do items right here. So for example, an employee can click on and see all of the to-do items that he or she has for the day. And then we can see our bid to contract ratio. Phil said that he has about almost a 50% win rate, which is great. So we can see by employee, those jobs that are in bidding and the win ratio. Skipping through, this right here is a project dashboard. And this project is in bidding status. All of the jobs in Red Team start out in this stage in bidding. And then they progress through the different stages. But the dashboard is intuitive and interactive. So because you're in bidding status, you may be particularly interested in drilling down on the hyperlinks, like the responses that you've received, or maybe clicking on the bid invitations to dive into those a little bit deeper. To create a project, we have this very simple page that allows you to enter the project name. And Phil mentioned that a lot of his employees, they used to have back in the day a bunch of spreadsheets that they wanted to use. Theirs were better. Well, we have in here a way for you to save all of your estimating spreadsheets so you can create them inside of Red Team as templates. So when you're creating the job, you can either pick and choose which estimating template you want to use, because maybe it's your personal template, or by project. Out of the box, Red Team offers you templates already that you can use as soon as you begin using the software. We make it so that it's super easy to onboard, and as you use the software and you want to add more templates, you can, but you're ready to go as soon as you onboard with us. This is the page where you manage your plans. We have markups, capabilities. You can compare drawings. We have a place for addenda as well. All right, so this job has, what you're seeing on the background right now is our bid estimate worksheet. So let me go back a little bit more. This is the template that I selected when I created this project, and it'll load up all of the cost codes that I need for this job. And maybe the job deviates a little bit from that template, so you can add or remove cost codes. These markups, this is where you add or remove cost codes, and then I'll show you. Okay, so the markups that you can add inside of Red Team are here, and this is where you develop your fee. And regardless of what job you're bidding, you have a standard set of fees and percentages. So like Phil said, any new project manager or estimator that you hire, they just have to pick up where someone else left off. There's no need to reinvent the wheel or think about or go back to the office administrator or accountant and say, hey, how much do we charge for overhead and fees? It's already here for that employee to see. This is the module for subcontractors to upload their bids. So they'll be able to break down their bids. What's neat is that if you have a sub bidding multiple cost codes, they're not receiving multiple bid invitations. They're receiving one where they can break down their bid by cost code, upload their PDF. They can view drawings, specifications, photos in here, and then submit their bid. This is the bid leveling that Tracy was talking about, where you can see all of your subcontractor bids. We list them from the highest bidder to the lowest bidder. And let's just say that you talk to Brett and he has everything included on the scope, even though he's the lowest bidder. We're not going to go with Phil's advice, probably with the second lowest bidder. We talked to Brett, he has everything included on his proposal, but we feel a little bit like we need to hold some contingency in there. We might get a call from Brett later on saying he forgot to add the permit to his bid. So this is where you can adjust that lowest bid with, let's say, contingency amount. And so what happens is that on your estimate for that cost code, you're presenting the owner with $135,000 for the electrical cost code in this case. Meanwhile, Red Team is going to auto-generate a subcontractor agreement with this amount, which is the bid amount from the subcontractor. All right. Okay, so Red Team has the ability for you to create bid notes in every single one of those cost codes on your estimate worksheet. These notes are super important. And one of the things that Red Team Go has as far as automation is that these notes, when entered here once, will be auto-populated on the scope of work for the owner when you're sending out the proposal package. It'll be auto-populated on the owner contract scope of work. It'll be auto-populated on the subcontracts. And the reason why we do it this way is because when you're bidding the job, you're really making sure that you're not missing any scope. So you're investigating all of the drawings and making sure you cover all of your bases. And so this is the time when you're really being specific on all the scope of work items. So you can write them here and then they'll auto-populate in all the other places. Not to say that you couldn't edit the information on those documents that I mentioned, but it just allows you to not forget anything. You know, no information drops here. This page is for bid invitations. And in here, usually with other software, you may have to automatically, or not automatically, you have to enter all of the subcontractors that you want to invite to bid. Whereas in Red Team Go, we automatically create a list of all of the subcontractors that are going to be receiving a bid invite based on your cost codes, on all of those cost codes that you had on your estimate. And you can still filter by zip code, or you can have a group of favorite subcontractors you want to send this bid to. But right away, out of the box, when you are creating an estimate, it'll load up all of your subcontractors in your database for you. Before you submit a proposal package to the owner, Red Team will give you a pop-up letting you know, hey, Phil, you forgot to add cost on these two cost codes. Would you like to go back to your estimate and plug in some numbers in there? Or are we ignoring this? So imagine you have an elevator on your project and you forgot to add an amount for that cost code. It has happened before. So Red Team Go is not going to let you forget about that. We'll remind you, hey, don't forget, you have to add an amount on this cost code before you proceed on sending out the proposal package to the owner. Okay, so I'll hit play on this. So let me go back. Okay. All of this right here is the proposal package to the owner. This is my example. You can have a completely different package for the owner. In my case, I have a cover letter, a personal letter, the letter that has the pricing, and then maybe you want to include the page that has the scope of work section. This page carried all of the notes that I had on my estimate worksheet and has them listed here. So as you see, this package for me, my template is ready to go to the owner. with just me simply reviewing and making sure I maybe add or remove anything that I don't want to show the owner at this point. In Phil's case, he uploads templates for all of the different jobs that he's bidding on. So for him, it's as quick and easy as uploading that package for that specific job and then sending it on to the owner from Red Team. We record all of that metadata. So if you want to see when you sent that proposal to the owner, you can go back to your email list and see exactly when you sent it out. Okay, so the job, after the project owner accepts your proposal, the job moves from bidding to pending. And in the pending status, Red Team Go allows you to store different templates for your owner contract package. And in this case, for my account, I have several templates that I can use, including some that are AIA documents and maybe a standard owner contract. So you can pick and choose which one you want to use to send your owner, and you can send it out right from Red Team. And if any of you guys have used AIA documents before, you know that you have to download the draft and then upload it again for the final. Whereas in Red Team, if you use them in here, you're just really editing the information on the contract within the software and then sending it out to the owner from here for signature. So this is what it looks like. You can edit any of the sections or then print it out or send it to the owner. Okay, so we have had some inquiries here on the budget. This is, let me see. This is the brand new budget worksheet that Red Team Go has. So if you have any jobs that are already in progress, you won't see this, but if you're starting a new job, and then you're progressing through the different stages, you're going to take advantage of this worksheet. And there is no need to create this from scratch. Like Tracy said, Red Team has a lot of automation. So it'll actually bring in some of that information from the estimate. And you can move money around. After it becomes a project in progress, you can do budget modifications in here. Lock your budget. It'll already tell you which subcontractors you picked during the bidding status. And once you select the subcontract template later, it'll actually create all of those draft subcontracts ready for editing. All right. This is a locked budget. And in here, we can turn on the forecast and manage our forecast to complete. In this case, I have it off. Because you can do budget modifications, this report allows you to see all of the adjustments that have been made on the budget, so you can keep track of those. Right from this page, you are able to issue out subcontracts and buy out your project. So you can have that conversation with the subcontractor, maybe pick the same one that you chose during bidding, or maybe change that subcontractor to another one that gave you a more competitive price, or someone you just trust a little bit more, etc. All from this page. This is my subcontract page. And so I can pick and choose which template I want to use for Red Team to automatically create draft subcontracts. I can edit these, lock them, send it out for electronic signature, and your subcontractors will be able to sign these on their portal. I'll show you that. Okay, this is the subcontractor portal. So Phil mentioned this a lot, and this is where your subcontractors complimentary will be able to sign their subcontracts electronically. They can send you pay applications, which Red Team automatically generates an AI style pay app for them. They'll be able to break down their schedule values before they even submit that first billing. Something else that's really neat is that you can require documents. So if you need certificates of insurance or a mobilization layout, anything you need from the sub before they can send that first pay application to you, or even before they sign the subcontract. Those are things you can do inside of Red Team and keep track of. And all can be done from the portal by the subcontractor. I'm back on the project here, and what I'm showing you now is something that both Phil and Tracy mentioned. I am inside of the page where I would create a pay application to the owner. And every time I access this page, Red Team gives me this pop-up that you're seeing on the screen. And it lets me know how much I've spent on the project since the last time that I submitted a pay application. These could be expenses from the field, timesheets that you've entered into Red Team. It can be purchase order invoices or receipts, dumpster pull-ups, and also subcontractor invoices. So any expense and every expense will be shown in here so that you can quickly add those to your pay application or ignore this message and simply bill by amount or by percentage. So we see, and later on, if you want to click on these hyperlinks again, you can to view the cost for each of the line items of your pay application. But otherwise, you can bill by amount or by percentage. And Red Team auto-generates an AI-style pay application that not only can it be signed in here, but also notarized digitally and sent to the owner for payment. Aside from that pay application, we also auto-generate a lien release that goes together with that pay application, which we can send to the project owner from here. This is the schedule that Phil was talking about. Every job inside of Red Team has a Gantt schedule. It's not a viewer. It's actually an interactive schedule that links up with the subcontractors that you have assigned for all of the cost codes. One of the things that I really like about the schedule is that, let's say you hired a subcontractor for glass and glazing, and your superintendent on the job site says that he doesn't think that that glass and glazing subcontractor can be on site at that date that was originally intended for them to be on site because of whatever reason. We're just not ready for them yet. And so the project manager can approve the superintendent's suggestion that he or she submitted from the mobile app about the schedule. And when the project manager accepts that change, Red Team will say, hey, would you like to notify that subcontractor of this schedule change? And if you say yes, that subcontractor gets notified. So like Phil said a lot, it's a process, and there's a reason why we have all of these processes in here built in. It's to really take advantage of that automation and save you a lot of time. So you don't have to have a coordinator anymore, unless you want to, but you don't have to have a coordinator anymore. Downloading a copy of that project schedule, turning it into a PDF, emailing it out to the subcontractors for the subcontractors to suggest changes that then the project manager has to go back and add. None of that. So a lot of time is being saved here by having the schedule in the system. Okay. So we have a daily report. These are captured by the superintendent in the field, and we capture the weather 4 times a day, the employees that were on the job site and what tasks they worked on, the equipment present, contractors present, let me pause this, others present, these can be inspectors, and then the scheduled tasks. So the superintendent is well aware of all of the tasks that the project manager had for activities to be done on the job site. And so the superintendent here is able to say, well, this work is 50% complete at this point or 25% complete right from the mobile app. We have unlimited photos and attachments that you can add to your daily report. And every day, these are sent to the project manager on his or her dashboard to approve and sign and remove anything that the superintendent wrote that isn't really politically correct. And yes, you can send these to your owners if you need to. So yeah, so this is that. This is a submittal worksheet. Okay, so our submittal worksheet here, where you add all of the submittal items that you need, which by the way, your subcontractors can send you unrequested submittals. But let's say you're requesting it, you're creating it here. We have ball and court, so you can add as many approvers as you need to. Very simple and easy to use, as you can see in here. And we also have a GC specific, let me see if I can go back like 10 seconds. We have a GC specific item on the submittal that allows you to set when you need that material on site. And depending on this date, it'll automatically calculate and let you know when you need when you need the responses back by from these people. Okay. We have RFIs included in the software. Again, super easy worksheet to fill in all of those RFIs. Like Phil said, engineers, architects, subcontractors, they don't have to log into your platform to reply. From their email, they can click on our magic link and they can reply to those items. Last but not least, we have closeouts and everything you need for closeouts. So we have warranty letters, which are auto-generated for all of the subcontractors that you had on the job. And you can print these out, send them out to the subcontractors for signature. We have punch lists, which is where you can manage your photos for before and after. And then assign those punch list items to the subcontractors. And then the substantial completion letter, which you can fill out and send it out to your architect or owner from here. All right, well, that's a quick presentation there of Red Team. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry about the audio issue. I had to take over, guys. Back to you, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. We really appreciate you showing us the demo. That was great explanation. So here on our screen, you're seeing the ability for you to scan 2 different QR codes. One, if you are already a Red Team Go user, you'll see the one on the right where we have a new referral program for you to earn up to $300 if you refer your friends and colleagues to Red Team Go. So take advantage of that new platform that we have for you by scanning that code. And then we also have the QR code on the left that if you are not a Red Team Go user yet and you'd like to see a more personalized demo, click on that QR code and that will allow you to schedule a time to meet with our industry specialists and take a look at the differences between Red Team Go, Red Team Flex, and some of our other products that may be a great fit for your company. And we look forward to talking with you more at that time. We've had some questions that have come up. We are right at the end of our time today, so I apologize that we haven't had as much time for questions and answers as we usually do at the end of these webinars, but I wanted you to hear from Phil and allow him to share his experience with you. I have done my best to try and get into the Q's and A's and put some answers in there to the majority of the questions that are there. We are going to have a recording of this presentation that will be up and posted for you on our events channel on our website following this, and we will also be able to send that email out and respond to any questions that you have. If you do have any additional questions that you want to send in to our team, you can send them in to us. I'm going to give you our email address, which is concierge@redteam.com, and you can send us your questions there and we'll get right back to you as well. We hope that you enjoyed this presentation of how to gain some efficiencies and profitability using our software tools, and we hope to see you on future webinars that we have. Have a wonderful day and thank you for joining us.